So there I was, just chugging away on my reviews for Nanmu November, when, out of nowhere, this appears from Paleo Nerd.
What? What the f?
And I had to just stop what I was doing and take a moment before immediately jumping on YouTube to work through all the complex emotions I am feeling at this particular junction in time. So let's take things back 2 years when we were exposed to the Papo Giganotosaurus before being exposed to other things, and the whole community was just up in arms over this specific figure. And it was such an enigma to me because not only did it show everything Papo was so good at, but it also was the culmination of a long journey of piss poor design decisions and poorly calculated missteps. Well, as it turns out, this particular lineup of Papo figures would end up putting their prehistoric lineup practically on ice for a full year, because in this year of our Lord 2021, Papo only produced 2 prehistoric critters, neither of which were dinosaurs, and one of which I'm yet to even see. But you know, I chose to look at the glass as half full. There were too many other good things flooding the market this year and last, and I felt some time off would give Papo time to reevaluate and hopefully course correct for 2022. Boy, was I wrong. A couple of weeks back, we did get a leaked list of species Papo would be releasing for their 2022 lineup, including 4 prehistoric animals, one of which was a repaint, 2 of which were marine creatures, and 1 sole new dinosaur sculpt, that being the Protoceratops. And you know, I was still optimistic. Yeah, 4 releases including a repaint is a small lineup, but then again, that's just a given with how everything is still recovering from the donkey kick to the teeth that was 2020. So yeah, I was willing to accept a smaller line if they really poured everything they got into it, and you know, quality over quantity with everything. But now, we have our first images of 3 out of 4 of the figures, and my hopes lay shattered around me like some crumbled gingerbread house that Papo built. Here's what we're dealing with, folks. I'm gonna start with the repaint of the Styracosaurus. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think this is a fairly decent repaint. I actually quite enjoy the palette with the turquoise and green body contrasting the warm tones and the banded horns, and the application is just very pleasing across the board. Plus, that original Styracosaurus has been on the market for so long, and the paint job was really starting to slip in later runs, so I think this repaint is a good thing. I am a little surprised it's the Styracosaurus as opposed to the Triceratops, which is an older figure, but that little anomaly aside, I do think this is a promising offering that's going to go great with the original. I think the contrast in colors is going to be really cool. I will say though, the past couple of repaints really fell down in the finishing department, so I'm not holding my breath that the final product will look even half as nice as this, but I guess it's one of the few strands of hope I have left. Next up, getting into the original sculpts here, we have a Mosasaurus, and this is actually the standout of the 3 in my eyes. I am once again surprised to see that Papo avoided their usual plan of falling back on Jurassic knockoffs, and instead of creating a take on the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, we have something a little more grounded. Now granted, it still has some stylization to it, some of that classic Papo flair, but the inclusion of the tail fluke and a reasonable dorsal fin make this an interesting offering from the company. I also really do like the paint apps on this thing with the mixture of mottled grays and banding along the tail. Overall, decent paint job on this one, Papo. I don't know if it will hold a candle to what PNSO is doing with their marine creatures, but at least it's far better than what we have next. Prepare yourselves for this. I don't know why I'm saying it. You've already seen it a couple times in the video, but ladies and gentlemen, the Papo 2022 Protoceratops. Oh, how the mighty have fallen with this one. I am just at a loss with this. I feel like I owe the Papo Giganotosaurus and every Papo figure before now that I have complained about a sincere apology, because this is just a new low. I thought it was a joke when I first saw it, and I'm still left just really, I don't even know where to begin. For starters, it doesn't even look like the head is attached in this photo. It looks like the neck just feeds right into the lower mandible, and then the top of the skull is just floating on top of that. This gives the head a very tall appearance overall. Protoceratops had a big skull in relation to its body, yes, but it was wide, not necessarily tall. I don't know, maybe it's just the angle, and they seem to have got some of the right ideas with the raised tail vertebrae, the ceratopsian integument, and smaller body / longer legs, but it still looks so cartoony and garishly sculpted that if you put this thing in front of me, I wouldn't know it was Papo. I couldn't believe it. I was speechless. I'm not speechless now, obviously, but I was when I first saw it. This is definitely a bummer of a figure. I was so excited when I saw that they were doing a Protoceratops. I was so hopeful. I mean, for one thing, we don't have many Protoceratops models on the market. I mean, what? There's Wild Past, Beast of the Mesozoic, Mattel's Attack Packs, and like a little safari tube dinosaur. So not even 5 notable offerings that immediately come to mind. That's it. This was Papo's chance to not only do something special, but also prove that they still have what it takes to stand out in a market that's proving to have less and less need for them. I'm so disappointed, you guys. So yeah, where do we go from here? Well, we still have the Kronosaurus to be revealed, and if the Mosasaurus is any indication, it could be another standout, but honestly, I think this just seals it. Papo really just doesn't have what it takes to keep justifying their existence in the dinosaur and prehistoric model market. And that sucks. It really sucks. They were the company that got me into this hobby, and for years they stood as the pinnacle of the market to me. And now we're here, and it seems Papo have less and less going for them. In the past few years, we've seen PNSO come back swinging, rivaling Papo in both paint and detailing, while delivering actual, scientifically accurate models. Something Papo tried to do a few times, but always seemed to fall a little short. Meanwhile, Nanmu came around and sort of took over the niche of unofficial Jurassic products, leaving Papo with very little draw. And when their lineup looks like this, it's easy to say they're done. Still, I don't want to be completely pessimistic. I do still think there is a string of hope. Papo's models have always been super affordable for what they are. High quality, well sculpted, sizable models. A majority of their figures are cheaper than a lot of PNSO stuff, especially in recent months. And for fans of Jurassic who can't afford Nanmu, Papo's older models are still the best bet in my opinion. So with this question of different price brackets in mind, I do still think Papo have a place at the table. They just need to either get back to what they were doing in the past, i.e. creating models inspired by pop culture depictions, or put in more effort at creating affordable but super high quality, actually scientifically accurate figures. If they did either of those things, I could see them coming back to rival the companies that have pushed them to the brink of extinction. There are so many Jurassic creatures left to create, and new ones are on the way. Give us a JP3 Corythosaurus, a Sinoceratops, a Nasutoceratops, a Monolophosaurus, a Kentrosaurus. Any of those things I'm sure would look great, but still cost a fraction of what Nanmu would charge for the same species. Either that, or just do a little more research, find references, look at papers, anything you can do. And you know what? I think Papo can do it. Yes, despite all of this, I still think they can change. We've seen them do it in the past as they transition from making only pop culture inspired models to more scientific creations. They weren't perfect by any means, but they were a far cry above this. And if a combination of those two types of Papo figures return, then maybe, just maybe, after all of this, the company will still have a chance. Anyway, I want to know what you all think of these figures. Leave a comment down below, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to stick around for more reveals and the upcoming Nanmu November. Until then, take care out there, and bye-bye.